Listen to me very carefully, Vela. If you ever spot a vessel with that configuration, you turn your ship around and punch your thrusters to maximum. Do you understand? Commander Pax leaned forward, all four of his eyes narrowed to slits. Vela Cora, junior scout for the Ardelian Defense Fleet, fought the urge to roll her eyes. Here we go again. Another senior officer treating her like a freshly hatched cadet. She'd graduated top of her class, thank you very much. Yes, Commander. Identification protocol memorized. What a human vessel equals immediate retreat. Vela's voice dripped with just enough respect to avoid a reprimand, but anyone with decent auditory membranes could detect the sarcasm. Commander Pax didn't smile. Nobody smiled when discussing humans. This isn't a joke, Scout Cora. The files you have studied don't convey the reality. Humans don't operate by normal rules of engagement. So I have heard 100 times. Vela couldn't help herself. They eat their enemies for breakfast, they can regenerate limbs, and their blood is actually liquid rage. The older Ardelian skin flushed a deep purple. Mock if you want. But when you are out there alone, you will remember this conversation. Vela bobbed her head in what appeared to be agreement, eager to end this redundant briefing. She'd been hearing these human horror stories since she was a child, how they conquered the Grath Collective in less than a solar cycle, how they withstood the Toraxian plague without a single casualty, how they communicated with each other using some kind of biological telepathy that couldn't be intercepted. Your exaggeration had to be. Your patrol route skirts the border of the neutral zone. Stay on our side, maintain regular communication, and report any anomalies immediately. Dismissed. Vela stood, saluted with appropriate formality, and exited the commander's office. Once the door sealed behind her, she finally allowed herself that eye roll. "Another human warning?" asked Talon, her friend and fellow scout, waiting in the corridor. "How did you guess?" Vela matched her pace to Talon's as they headed toward the hangar bay. "You'd think we were deploying near a black hole, not patrolling our own territory." Talon's mandibles clicked. "They are just looking out for you. My uncle served during the Proxima incident. He doesn't talk about it much, but when he does, he trailed off meaningfully. When he does, he tells terrifying stories that grow more outlandish with each retelling," Vela finished. "Like how humans can survive in vacuum for hours, or how they deliberately expose themselves to toxins for pleasure. Some of those stories are documented, and some are nonsense. The Unified Council has had a peace treaty with Earth for 20 cycles. If humans were the monsters everyone claims, would they really honor diplomatic agreements?" Talon shrugged, his shoulder plates rising and falling. "Maybe they are just biding their time." Vela snorted. "And maybe I will grow wings and migrate to the upper atmosphere. Come on, let's get pre-flight checks done. I want to launch before the artificial night cycle." 6 hours later, Vela's scout ship cruised through the silence of deep space. She hummed to herself, enjoying the solitude. This was why she'd joined the fleet, not for the ridiculous drills or the endless briefings, but for this. Stars stretching in all directions. The gentle hum of her ship's propulsion system. The freedom to think without interruption. Her communication panel beeped, interrupting her solitude. "Speak of the devil." "Scout Cora reporting," she answered, keeping her voice professional. "Status update." Came the clipped response from Fleet Control, all systems nominal. Sector 7G clear of unauthorized traffic. Proceeding to waypoint Epsilon. Acknowledged. Maintain vigilance. The line went silent. Vela checked her navigation display, confirming her course. Waypoint Epsilon sat just 2 light minutes from the neutral zone boundary. The invisible line that separated Ardelian space from. Well, from where anyone could go, technically. That was the point of neutral zones. Her scanner pinged softly. A small debris field ahead. Nothing unusual in this region. Probably remnants from the asteroid mining operations that had been abandoned decades ago when the resources were depleted. Vela adjusted her course slightly, planning to pass around rather than through the debris. No sense risking hull damage on routine patrol. As she drew closer, something about the debris pattern caught her attention. It was too organized. Her fingers danced across the control panel, initiating a detailed scan. The results made her antennae twitch. This wasn't random space junk. The objects were components of a destroyed ship, and based on the molecular signature, it was Ardelian. Protocol demanded she report this immediately, but curiosity pushed her to investigate first. What was an Ardelian vessel doing this far out? The patrol routes didn't come this close to the neutral zone boundary. She maneuvered closer, using her ship's external lights to examine the larger pieces. The damage pattern was unusual, not consistent with a collision or system failure. These were weapons impacts. But who would attack an Ardelian ship in Ardelian space? A proximity alert blared suddenly, startling her. Something was approaching from within the debris field. Something that hadn't registered on her scanners until now. Vila's hearts accelerated as a small craft emerged from behind a large section of destroyed hull. It was unlike any design she recognized, sleek, dark, with odd protrusions that might be weapons or sensors. Her communication panel activated automatically, standard procedure when encountering unknown vessels. Attention, unidentified craft. This is Scout Vela Cora of the Ardelian Defense Fleet. You are in Ardelian sovereign space. Identify yourself immediately. No response came through the official channel. Instead, her personal communication device chimed. Someone was trying to establish a direct link, bypassing fleet protocols. Highly irregular and technically a security violation. Against better judgment, Vela accepted the connection. Scout Cora, came a voice, speaking perfect Ardelian, but with an unmistakably strange cadence. I strongly suggest you leave this area immediately. Who are you? What happened to the Ardelian vessel? A pause. Information you are not cleared for. Return to your base, report a sensor malfunction, and forget what you have seen. Vela's training kicked in. She activated her ship's defense systems and began recording the encounter. I will do no such thing. Identify yourself now, or I will be forced to. To what? The voice sounded almost amused. Your weapons can't target what they can't see properly, and your communications to fleet control are currently being blocked. As if to prove the point, her attempt to open an emergency channel failed. Vela felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. But who are you? Another pause, longer this time. Then, someone trying to save your life. There's a situation developing here that you are not equipped to handle. Leave. Now. The small craft began to move, not toward her but deeper into the debris field. Vela's scanner tried to maintain a lock but kept slipping, as if the vessel was somehow interfering with her systems. Something about its movement pattern tugged at her memory. A briefing she'd attended months ago about emerging technologies and potential threats, about ships that could partially phase shift, appearing semi-transparent to certain scanning frequencies. Only one known species had perfected that technology. You are human, she said, the realization striking her like a physical blow. The communication link went silent for several seconds. Correct, the voice finally acknowledged. And you are in serious danger, Ardelian. There's another human vessel coming, one that doesn't share my restraint. You need to leave before they arrive. Vela's mind raced. Everything she'd been taught said to retreat immediately upon confirming human contact. Commander Pax's warning echoed in her head. If you see that ship, run. But this human had warned her, was helping her. It contradicted everything in her training. Why are you telling me this? Aren't you working together? A sound came through the link that took her a moment to identify. Laughter. Short and without much humor. Humans working together? That's adorable. No, Scout Cora, we are not a monolithic entity. The vessel approaching represents, let's call them a different philosophy. One considerably less concerned with your survival. Vela's tactical display suddenly flashed a warning. A new contact had appeared at extreme scanner range, moving fast. Very fast. That would be them, the human said, voice tight. Last chance, Ardelian. Run or die. Your choice. The small craft suddenly accelerated, disappearing behind a larger piece of debris. Her scanner lost track of it completely. Vela hesitated, torn between duty and self-preservation. Fleet protocol was clear: document and report any human activity. But protocol assumed she'd be able to report it all. The approaching vessel was now close enough for her system to attempt classification. The silhouette that appeared on her display matched exactly the warning images she'd been shown countless times in training. An official human military vessel. Not a small scout like her first contact, but a proper warship. Her Delian vessel boomed a new voice through her communication system. This one sounded nothing like the first, deeper, harsher, with none of the earlier restraint. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. No introduction, no explanation. Just a command, delivered with absolute confidence it would be obeyed. Vela's fingers hovered over her control panel. Power down? That would leave her completely vulnerable. But resistance seemed equally futile against a human warship. A private channel opened again. The first human. Don't comply. They will dissect both you and your ship. 40 degrees starboard, there's a dense section of debris. If you can reach it. The mineral composition will confuse their scanners long enough for you to engage your emergency thrusters. Head for the Cassini gap at the edge of the neutral zone. I will find you there. Why should I trust you? Vela demanded, even as she began to angle her ship in the suggested direction. Because I haven't killed you yet, came the simple reply. Go. Now. The human warship was closing fast. Too fast. Its weapons systems were powering up. She could detect the energy spikes. Vela made her decision. She slammed her thrusters to maximum, diving toward the debris cluster. Her ship shuddered as she pushed it beyond safety parameters. Ardelian vessel, this is your final warning. Power down or... The rest of the message dissolved into static as she entered the debris field. Warnings flashed across her control panel as pieces of destroyed ships scraped against her hull. But the human had been right. The scanner signature behind her became confused, unable to maintain a clean lock. She punched in coordinates for the Cassini gap, a turbulent region at the boundary of the neutral zone. Not an official entry point, which is precisely why it might work. A massive energy surge registered behind her. The humans had fired some kind of weapon. Vela held her breath, but the shot went wide, detonating a large piece of debris instead of her ship. The explosion propelled additional fragments in all directions. Vela used the chaos to mask her trajectory, then engaged her emergency thrusters the moment she cleared the densest part of the field. Her ship shot forward with bone-rattling acceleration. The structural integrity alarms screamed as the hull strained under forces it wasn't designed to withstand. Come on, she muttered, watching her rear scanner. The human warship was momentarily confused but would reacquire her soon. The gap between them widened. Maybe, just maybe, she'd make it to the Cassini gap before they caught up. Then what? Trust a human she'd just met? One who was apparently fighting against other humans? Commander Pax's warning suddenly seemed less ridiculous. But he'd never mentioned that humans fought amongst themselves, so that some might help an Ardelian. The training had portrayed them as uniformly dangerous, universally to be avoided. What else had her training simplified or omitted? The neutral zone boundary appeared on her navigation display. Just a few more minutes at her current speed. Her communication system crackled. Interesting choice, Ardelian, said the second human, the threatening one. But ultimately futile. Even if you reach neutral space, we will follow. There's nowhere you can hide what you have seen. What I have seen? Vela thought frantically. I haven't seen anything except humans attacking an Ardelian ship. Unless that wasn't the full story. The first human's channel opened again. Almost there. Don't slow down when you cross the boundary. Head directly for coordinates I'm sending now. A string of navigation points appeared on her display, leading deep into the neutral zone. "What's at these coordinates?" she asked. "Friends. Allies. People who can protect you from them." "More humans?" A pause. "Not exactly." The neutral zone boundary flashed beneath her ship. She'd made it. But as the second human had promised, the warship followed without hesitation. And it was gaining on her. Vela took a deep breath and made another decision. She locked in the coordinates from the first human and diverted all remaining power to her engines. Behind her, the human warship launched something. Small, fast-moving projectiles. Not energy weapons this time. Missiles. Of course there were missiles. Because running for her life through a debris field and across territorial boundaries wasn't quite exciting enough. Vela's tactical display showed 3 projectiles tracking her ship's heat signature. She had seconds, maybe less. Evasive suggestions would be appreciated right about now, she shouted into the communication channel, hoping the first human was still listening. "Cut your main engines on my mark," came the immediate reply. 3, 2, 1, now. Every instinct screamed against this advice. Cut engines while being pursued? But Vela had already committed to this insane partnership. She slammed the engine cutoff, and her ship lurched sickeningly as momentum carried it forward in sudden silence. "Deploy your emergency beacon. Full spectrum. That will broadcast my location to everyone within 3 light minutes." "Exactly." Vela punched the beacon activation. A powerful signal burst erupted from her ship, announcing her presence and distress to anyone listening. Almost immediately, the missiles veered off course, their tracking systems confused by the sudden absence of engine output and the overwhelming signal from the beacon. "They are programmed to avoid publicizing their activities," explained the human. "Your beacon makes you too visible for their comfort." The missiles self-destructed at a safe distance, brilliant flashes against the darkness. The pursuing warship slowed its approach but didn't retreat. "That bought us seconds, not minutes," Vela said, reactivating her engines at minimal power. "What's your actual plan?" "You're just keeping heading for the coordinates. And when you get there, try not to panic." "Panic? Why would I?" Her sensor array suddenly erupted with warnings. Something massive was approaching from the direction of the coordinates the human had sent, something that hadn't been there moments ago. The neutral zone ahead of her shimmered like the surface of a liquid. Space itself seemed to part as a vessel emerged from nowhere. One moment empty void, the next occupied by a ship that dwarfed both her scout and the human warship combined. Its design was like nothing she'd ever seen, not Ardelian, not human, not any species from the Unified Council. Angular in places, curved in others, with sections that seemed to phase in and out of visibility. "What is that?" Vela whispered, her mandibles clicking rapidly in stress. "That," said the human with audible satisfaction, "is your ride." The human warship had clearly detected the new arrival. It halted its pursuit, hanging motionless in space. The massive vessel's communication system activated, broadcasting on an open channel that both Vela and the warship would receive. "United Earth Navy Vessel Retribution," came a voice that resonated oddly, as if multiple beings were speaking in perfect synchronization. "You have violated Treaty Section 17.3 by pursuing non-combatants into neutral territory. Stand down and prepare for boarding." A new voice came through Vela's system, the captain of the warship, she presumed. "We are in pursuit of an Ardelian vessel containing classified intelligence. This is a matter of human security." "Incorrect," replied the strange, multi-layered voice. "The Ardelian scout contains no such intelligence. Your pursuit is unauthorized and violates the Treaty of Proxima. Final warning, stand down." Vela's communication panel pinged. A private message from the first human. Reagan approached the large vessel. "They are expecting you. Don't worry about the warship, they won't risk firing with the Guardians present." "Guardians?" Vela asked. "Who are the Guardians?" "The reason humans haven't conquered half the galaxy by now," came the wry response. "Go. I will meet you aboard. Vila hesitated, looking at the impossible ship ahead and the human warship behind. Neither seemed particularly appealing, but at least the massive vessel hadn't fired missiles at her. She nudged her engines higher, resuming course toward the coordinates. As she approached, a section of the enormous ship's hull seemed to dissolve, revealing a hangar bay large enough to accommodate vessels many times her size. Guidance beams activated, gently taking control of her scout and drawing it inside. Vela could have overridden them but chose not to. Whatever was happening here went far beyond her training. As her ship settled onto the hangar deck, she noticed dozens of other vessels stored nearby. Some she recognized as belonging to species from the Unified Council. Others were completely alien. A few appeared to be human designs. A notification appeared on her control panel. Atmosphere compatible. Safe to disembark. Vila performed a quick scan to verify this claim. Surprisingly, the air composition matched Ardelian requirements perfectly, too perfectly to be coincidence. She powered down her systems and moved to the airlock. After a moment's hesitation, she unsealed her ship and stepped out onto the deck of the mysterious vessel. Three figures waited for her. Two were clearly not human, tall, willowy beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. The third was unmistakably human, shorter and more solidly built, wearing a dark uniform without insignia. "Welcome aboard the Concordat, Scout Cora," said the human, and Vela recognized the voice from their communications. "I'm Julian Reeves. These are representatives Tal and Nor of the Guardian Collective." The two non-humans inclined their upper bodies in what Vela assumed was a greeting. When they spoke, she realized they were the source of the strange, multi-layered voice she'd heard. "Your presence complicates matters," they said simultaneously, their skin pulsing with blue and green patterns, but perhaps fortuitously so. Vela tried to maintain her composure despite the surreal situation. "Would someone please explain what's happening? Who attacked the Ardelian ship? Why was that warship pursuing me? And what exactly are you?" She directed this last question at the Guardians. Julian Reeves sighed. "The simple version? You stumbled into a shadow war. The complicated version will take longer to explain." He gestured toward an opening that had appeared in the hangar wall. "Come with us. There's someone you should meet." Vila noticed he didn't answer her question about the Guardians. She followed anyway, hyper-aware that she was alone and unarmed on an alien vessel. They proceeded through corridors that seemed to reconfigure themselves as they walked, until they reached what appeared to be a command center. The view screens showed both her scout ship in the hangar and the human warship, still hovering at a distance. Another human waited for them here. Female, based on Vela's training in human dimorphism, with streaks of silver in her dark hair. "Admiral Helena Reeves," Julian introduced her. "My mother. Former United Earth Navy, now liaison to the Guardian Collective." The Admiral nodded briskly. "MS Cora. Your timing is problematic but not insurmountable. The retribution has been contained for now." "Contained? They are still out there, aren't they?" "They won't be going anywhere," Admiral Reeves said with absolute certainty. "The Guardians have disabled their propulsion and weapons systems. A retrieval team from Guardian Central will arrive within 6 hours to escort them to a hearing." Vila's patience finally snapped. "While I appreciate not being blown to atomic particles, I would really like some answers. What is this shadow war? What did I stumble into?" The two Guardians moved to a central platform, their skin now pulsing with purple and gold patterns. "The simplest explanation," they said in their unsettling unison, "is that you witnessed humans fighting humans. This conflict has been ongoing since their species achieved space travel." Julian elaborated. "There are factions within humanity who believe expansion is our right, but that other species are either potential subjects or potential threats. They have operated covertly for decades, seeking advantages against both the Unified Council and the less militant human factions." "Like the faction you represent?" Vela asked. "Precisely. We work with the Guardians to maintain the balance. exist to prevent the expansionists from triggering an interspecies war that would devastate all sides. Vela's antennae twitched as she processed this. And the destroyed Ardelian ship? A flash of discomfort crossed Julian's face. The research vessel that detected something it shouldn't have. The Retribution was dispatched to eliminate it and any evidence of their involvement. I was sent to investigate when we lost contact with our informant aboard. You had a human spy on an Ardelian research vessel? Vela was aghast. Not a human spy, Admiral Reeves corrected. An Ardelian one. Working for the same reason we do, to prevent certain elements from shattering a fragile peace. Vela felt her world tilt sideways. Ardelians working with humans? Against other Ardelians? That's complicated, Julian finished for her. Welcome to Galactic Politics, Scout Cora. The view screen suddenly shifted, showing a new vessel approaching. This one Vela recognized immediately, an Ardelian heavy cruiser. Ah, right on schedule, said Admiral Reeves. Your people have detected your emergency beacon. Panic surged through Vela. They can't find me here. This violates every protocol. They already know, Julian said gently. At least, certain individuals in your admiralty do. How do you think we coordinated with your spy? Vela sank into a chair that materialized behind her just as her legs threatened to give out. Everything she thought she knew about the relationship between humans and Ardelians was apparently a carefully constructed fiction. So the warnings about humans, she began, are both true and false, said the Guardians. Some humans are exactly as dangerous as you were warned. Others work to contain that danger. Which is why, Julian added, both sides tell their people to run if they encounter the other. It simplifies matters when civilian craft aren't caught in the crossfire. Admiral Reeves approached a communication panel. We need to decide what happens with you, Scout Cora. Your unplanned involvement creates several possibilities. What possibilities? You could return to your fleet with a modified story. Sensor malfunction, temporary disorientation. Nothing to report. You want me to lie? Vela's mandibles clicked in indignation. Option 2, Julian continued. You could return with the full story, but only report to certain individuals, those already aware of the situation. Become part of this conspiracy, you mean? Or option 3, said the Guardians, their skin now rippling with silver and white. You could join the Guardian Collective as an official Ardelian liaison. Your direct experience with both hostile and friendly human contact makes you uniquely qualified. Vela stared at them. Join you? I don't even understand what you are. The Guardian's form seemed to blur slightly. We are the balance. We emerged when the first species in this galaxy achieved faster than light travel and began encountering others. We exist to prevent extinction-level conflicts between civilizations. Think of them as evolutionary antibodies for the galaxy, Julian suggested. They don't interfere with natural development or minor conflicts, only with threats that could destabilize multiple star systems. Like humans, Vela said. Like humans with unchecked ambition, Admiral Reeves corrected. We are not inherently worse than other species, just more efficient at conflict when we choose to engage in it. The Guardian's skin pulsed with agreement. Humans achieved in centuries what took other species millennia. Their capacity for both creation and destruction exceeds all known patterns. They must be guided, not eliminated. Vela's head was spinning. And I'm supposed to decide my future right now based on information I learned 10 minutes ago? Julian laughed. Of course not. You will return to your fleet with the sensor malfunction story for now. We will arrange proper communication channels. Give you time to verify everything we have told you. And the crew of that research vessel? My people? A silence fell. Finally, Admiral Reeves spoke. I'm sorry. There were no survivors when Julian arrived. The retribution is extremely thorough. Vela felt sick. So I'm just supposed to return to my duties knowing that some humans murdered an Ardelian research team? That other humans and these Guardians are working with Ardelian officials in secret? Yes, said Julian simply. That's exactly what we are asking. Because the alternative is revealing everything prematurely and potentially triggering the very conflict we are working to prevent. The Retribution acted without authorization, added the Guardians. They will face justice. But exposing this incident publicly would strengthen the militant factions on both sides, those who argue that cooperation is impossible. Vela looked around at these impossible allies, humans who had saved her life, mysterious beings who seemed to exist outside normal space, and an Ardelian cruiser approaching to retrieve her, commanded by individuals who were part of this grand deception. I need proof, she said finally. Proof that what you are saying is true, that this shadow war exists, and that keeping it secret serves a greater purpose. Julian nodded. That's fair. We will provide it, starting with this. He handed her a data crystal. Sensor logs from the Retribution. Details of 5 previous attacks on civilian research vessels, not just Ardelian, but Toraxian and Grath as well. Evidence that certain military leaders in all involved species know about these incidents and have chosen containment over disclosure. Vela took the crystal reluctantly. And I'm supposed to trust that this isn't fabricated. The verification codes can only be authenticated by your Admiral Zinn. She will confirm their legitimacy. Vela's antennae shot up in shock. Admiral Zinn is part of this? One of our most valued collaborators, confirmed Admiral Reeves. She will debrief you personally when you return. The Guardians moved closer, their iridescent skin now calm and uniform in color. Scout Cora, we understand your confusion and distrust. But consider this, humans warned you to run if you saw their ships. Yet here you stand, conversing with them as equals. Perhaps other assumptions should be questioned as well. Vela looked at Julian, remembering his warning that had saved her from the missiles. Not all humans are the same, she acknowledged. Just as not all Ardelians share the same goals. Exactly, said Julian. Now, shall we prepare you for rendezvous with your cruiser? I believe you have a sensor malfunction to report. Vela took a deep breath. And if I decide I want to know more, to possibly become this liaison? Then say the following to Admiral Zinn. The stars hide more than darkness. She will understand. As they escorted her back toward the hangar bay, Vela found her mind racing with implications. Everything she thought she knew about galactic politics had been a carefully maintained facade. Enemies were allies, dangers were selective, and the warnings she'd dismissed as exaggeration contained kernels of truth wrapped in misdirection. One last question, she said as they reached her scout ship. Commander Pax told me to run if I saw a human vessel. Was he aware of all this? Or just repeating standard warnings? Julian and his mother exchanged glances. Commander Pax, said Admiral Reeves carefully, is among those who believe cooperation with humans is both possible and necessary. His warning was genuine. Most random encounters between our species do end badly. But he also recommended you specifically for this patrol route. Vela's mandibles fell open in shock. He set me up? He wanted me to find that debris field? Not exactly, Julian explained. The debris wasn't supposed to be there. The research vessel should have returned safely. But when it didn't, having someone like you discover the aftermath created an opportunity. Someone like me? What does that mean? Someone smart enough to question, curious enough to investigate, and adaptable enough to accept new realities when presented with evidence. Wow, that sounds suspiciously like a recruitment profile. Julian smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from a human. Perhaps it is. The Guardian Collective is always searching for those who can see beyond the stories they have been told. Vela boarded her ship with the data crystal secured and a head full of questions. As the hangar bay opened to release her, she looked back at the odd trio, 2 humans and 2 Guardians standing together in apparent harmony. The massive ship cloaked itself as she departed, vanishing from both sight and sensors as if it had never existed. Seconds later, her communication system activated with a priority signal from the approaching Ardelian cruiser. Scout Cora, came Admiral Zin's voice. Report your status. Vila hesitated, thinking of everything she'd learned. It's of humans who were enemies and humans who were allies. Of guardians who manipulated events across species lines. Of her own people working in secret with both. They had warned her to run if she saw a human ship. But perhaps there were times when running wasn't the answer. When understanding the enemy and the supposed friend mattered more. Admiral, she replied carefully. I experienced a sensor malfunction that led me off course. However, she took a deep breath, committing herself to whatever came next. The stars hide more than darkness. A long pause followed. When Admiral Zin spoke again, her voice had changed subtly. Indeed they do, Scout Cora. Indeed they do. Prepare for docking. We have much to discuss. Behind her, the human warship remained frozen in space, caught in the Guardian's technological grip. Evidence that the warnings about human capabilities weren't exaggerated after all. They were just incomplete as her understanding had been, as incomplete as the stories all species told themselves about their place in the galaxy. Vela smiled as her ship aligned with the cruiser's docking bay. Commander Pax had been right after all. If you see a human ship, run. Unless, of course, you were ready to learn the truth about everything else,